it's running. So really, really nice to hear you. You are in England, I suppose. I am in France. So welcome in France. I see that the last time you played in France is not very long ago. It was last year in January. You played in the Cabaret Sauvage in Paris, of course,
Yeah,
with Every Time I Die and Vain.
yeah,
Do you have a remembering of this show? How was it in
yeah.
Paris?
The show was incredible. If my memory is serving me correctly, it was the first show of the tour. The venue was really nice and everyone was really cool and the show was amazing. Yeah, so we had a great time.
How was the tour? You tell me that it was the beginning of the tour. You have the opportunity finally to play live last year. There are not so many bands who play live finally. How was the tour and do you have the opportunity to finish the tour?
Yeah, yeah. The tour was incredible, really. We had a great time. Yeah, before sort of COVID shut down the world, so we were all not aware of what was to come. So we were just in our stride, just sort of enjoying it. But yeah, the tour was amazing. It was really, really great to tour with Every Time I Die. While She Sleeps, a long time fans of that band. And also, it was great to have Vane out as well. They're a really great up and coming band from the States. So that was cool. The lineup was really good, and like I say, the show was incredible. Like loads of people crowd surfing and having fun and having a drink. We had a great time, and yeah, the show was awesome.
How was for all the people who didn't see you on stage? I hope we could see you this year on stage, perhaps in France too. But how could you describe a show of the band? What do you want to
If
have?
any For anyone that hasn't seen us play before, the way to describe our show, I think, is energetic and passionate. Um, the feeling of unity that is apparent at a While She Sleeps show is always so amazing. Yeah, we have loads of people singing along, loads of people sort of letting go of negative energy and just being united with each other and enjoying themselves. If I had to describe our show in 2 words, it would probably be energetic and passionate. Yeah.
It was. Do you finally, as a singer, do you appreciate the life on the road to play each night or a lot of gigs in a week?
Yeah, I mean, over the years, I've had my fair share of problems with sort of looking after my voice. Obviously, as metal singers do, it's not something that like necessarily comes natural to be able to sort of shout and scream and use your voice to such a and in such an extreme way every single night. And I've definitely learned the hard way how to balance that and how to deal with that whilst on the road. But in terms of sort of in terms of taking a step back and appreciating what we get to do as a group of friends and a band, and we don't take that for granted. Being able to sort of spend each evening with different people from all over the world and experience all these different places is unbelievable. And yeah, we're very lucky to be able to do that, and we're lucky that people care about our band enough to warrant us doing that. So yeah, we don't take that for granted, and it's amazing being able to tour around the world and playing live music with your best friends for sure.
Do you have a what is for you? I mean, do you have some show who are really exceptional? Some shows that you never forget because there's something who happened in the show. Perhaps it could be a funny story or anything. I don't know, but something special happened on stage.
I mean, every single show is different. Every night that we play a rock show is completely different from the next, and for that reason, that's sort of the main reason why I love being able to tour the world and play to different people. The reaction you get is similar in all the different countries, but at the same time, it's you're getting the same out of it. You're getting to unite with people, and having people sing your songs back to you is incredible. I think one of the recent highlights for me was getting to play Brixton Academy in London, a sold out show. It's one of those career marks for us where it's always been in the back of our minds, will we actually ever be a big enough band to be able to sell out that show? And and that was such a huge celebration for us as well, just before sort of COVID hit. So for many people that came to that show in the UK anyway, that was a big deal, and it was a very, very special evening for the band and I, and we had a great time. Can you remind me what big festivals you have in France, because I'm sure
we have one is very well known. It's the Hellfest.
Yes, I was going to say Hellfest. We played Hellfest before, and that was absolutely unbelievable. Yeah, just such a good atmosphere, such a good setting for a festival. So yeah, can't wait to be able to come back and play that festival again. Such a great time.
So you just arrived with a new album. It's
Right.
called Sleep Society.
Yeah.
How was finally? How do you work on the writing of this album? Do you work like the same things? Did you do the same things that the album before, or do you work differently? How was it this time?
I think that over the years, sort of working together, writing, recording together, there's definitely things that you take from album to album that are very similar, with that being the dynamic of what everyone brings to the table and what everyone brings to the band and recording. This time was a lot different because we had to work around COVID-19, and we couldn't necessarily all be in the studio at one time, and we had to make sure we were sort of keeping our distance. I mean, we're very lucky in a sense that we have a warehouse sort of space in Sheffield in the UK that we can work out of. A lot of bands don't have the space that we have. And it definitely made it very easy, a lot more easy for us to be able to continue to work with having such a big space. It meant that we weren't on top of each other trying to sort of work around COVID. It meant that a couple of people could be in the studio while the rest of us weren't in there, and we can all be getting on with other things. So that was one thing that was really different this time. I think While She Sleeps as a whole, we always want to try and keep our fan base on its toes, and we never want to try and recreate the same album twice. I think it's very important for us to always be pushing ourselves and trying new things. And we have a bit of a thing in the studio where, like, if it kind of scares us a little bit or it feels a little bit different for us, then we kind of want to experiment with that. And I think that's why sort of the last couple of records, there's been some different sort into the songs, and I think it's just because we want to remain interesting for our fan base and keep our fan base on its toes as to what to expect from us. And this also means that we get to have a bit more fun in the studio, not trying to recreate the same sounds twice, and really sort of step outside the box in a way. So yeah, there were lots of different things that went into recording Sleep Society. We're like extremely proud of the record, and you know, I definitely feel very bad for any bands that sort of released an album before this and haven't been able to tour it. We're very lucky at the moment because we did a lot of our touring just before COVID hit. So that enabled us to sort of take a bit of time off while this has all been trying to sort itself out. And we were scheduled to be in the studio anyway. So we're very lucky in that sense. But yeah, I think just in terms of sort of writing and recording together, I mean, we work in a lot of different ways, and it's kind of, we just come together to get the job done, really. We don't try and think too much about past records, and we just hope that we write things that people are excited by, that remain current, and that are exciting for our fan base to not know what to expect from a new Sleeps record. So they're the main things we try in house, and all coming together. You know, we all bring something very different to the table in While She Sleeps, and we work very five-dimensionally. Like, there's not just one person writing; everyone brings a little something to the table. So it's always interesting to see what develops out of a new Sleeps record. So yeah, we definitely had fun.
Yeah, so you choose to recording with a long friend of you, Carl Born,
Yeah.
who do the production, engineering, mastering.
Yeah.
That you finally who produce the album.
Yeah.
Well, for this album, do you have a special idea of the sound what you want for this album, or is it? How do you work with Carl? Does it bring many things to the band? How is the chemistry with him?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, Carl has really been the only producer that we've ever worked with, and I think we kind of stand by the philosophy of if it's not broken, then it doesn't need fixing. It can be very difficult to find a producer that can sort of really connect with who you are as people, and um, you know, if any artist finds a producer that can kind of come in and work with you on such a good level, then you know that's a really special thing. And for us, Carl Bown, he's worked on every record we've done apart from our first long EP.
Mm.
So from This Is the Six right through to our current record, Sleep Society, like he's worked on everything, and he really is a very important part of the team. Like he makes us feel comfortable. He understands from working with us sort of where we're coming from and what we want to do with sections. We have a lot of references that sort of that we all know now, and we all know, you know, we all come together and we kind of know the vibe and what we're trying to create. So it's really special to have Carl. And we definitely appreciate his input. He comes up with some great ideas just as much as we do, and we really work together on the overall sound and production. So yeah, Carl's great, and we love him to bits. And like I say, it's amazing to have somebody that we can rely on, that we always work on our records with. He's definitely like a sixth member of the band, if you like, especially in the studio. And yeah, he plays a very important part in the production of the While She Sleeps records.
It was so there are 11 tracks on this album.
That's
You are the singer, so you change when I listen to the first songs and the second one, your single, You Are All You Need, is very different from atmosphere. Is there a challenge for you as a singer? Some songs who have been really a great challenge to sing in studio.
Yeah, I mean, like it's very difficult, I think, to just sing well in general. I've I've struggled over the years with throat surgeries, and I struggle from sort of acid reflux as well, which is very, very bad for singers. So I have all this going on aside from just having to shout every night on stage, you know. So it can often be quite a battle for me to stay on top and be at good form. I think like when you are sort of a screamy heavy vocalist, there's a lot of things that are in motion then to try and get a good sound. And it takes a while to develop a technique that's sustainable on the road, and also works really well in the studio. And that's what I've spent, you know, 10 years like trying to perfect, and I still think I've got a long way to go. Luckily our fans don't necessarily think that, but it's an ongoing process for me. And you know, I think being able to try and sing cleanly is something that's very personal, and it can be very hard, you know, like when you scream, you can almost put on a slight front, you know, you can kind of hide behind a heavy voice quite well. But when you sing cleanly, you're very vulnerable, if you like. You're very out there. It's your clean voice. It's very personal to you. So it can be quite difficult to really let go of that and sort of feel confident at singing. So for me, there was quite a challenge on this record with sort of working on my clean voice and trying to use that a bit more and gain confidence in that. As well as me, like Sean and Matt, over the last few years and the last few records have really started getting involved and singing more than they have done on previous records. So that's nice as well. It's been able to bounce off each other and work on different things. You know, I think for While She Sleeps, it's important to have that dynamic. I feel like it's quite easy if a band has sort of one singer or maybe even one style of voice and one singer. It can get sort of very one-dimensional, and for us it's very important to have different levels that can come in and sort of pop at different times to really accentuate the message and accentuate what it'll be like live. And it gives us room to sort of make error then, you know, we can back each other up live if it's difficult for another person, or you know, it's fun in a way just to bounce the vocals around, and it means that we get a breather in a live sense, and we get to sort of enjoy it for a second without trying to absolutely nail the vocal. So so yeah, it's fun, and we always have a good time. But yeah, for me, this record especially was all about working on my clean voice, and whilst trying to balance that with maintaining a good scream and a good sort of shouting voice. So yeah, it was quite tough, but I think album to album and year to year, I'm sort of grasping that more and more. And it's taken me a while. I tend to stick to my bad habits like drinking and smoking far too much. So it's been a big learning curve for me to try and ditch those things and look after my voice properly. But I think I'm getting there. So we'll see.
Do you have some finally some model, some singer for you who are an influence? Who are do you appreciate some singer and you say, "Wow, I would like to do like him or like her"? I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. I constantly come across bands and singers that are making my life even harder. All the time. There's so many out there, in our world. I think that Sam from Architects' voice is unbelievable. I think that he sounds amazing live, both his clean voice and his sort of screaming voice as well. I've seen him live so many times. We've been on tour with those guys, and he's always so on point. It's unbelievable. I really like the woman's voice from a band called London Grammar. They're like a UK sort of like bit of a gospel pop vibe, I guess. I don't really know what they call themselves, but her voice is absolutely beautiful. Yeah, and one of my favorite singers ever plays in a band called Norma Jean. They have actually this record here. For anyone that doesn't know Norma Jean, this record is called Wrongdoers, and the vocal display on that is unbelievable. That's one of my favorite records ever, and his voice is really, really good. Both singing and screaming is unbelievable. So yeah, check them out if you haven't seen them. But I'm constantly meeting people on the road that their voices are outstanding, and I'm always trying to pick their brains and figure out what they're doing technique wise or diet wise to see how I can improve. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm constantly learning.
I see a big box of Black Sabbath Paranoid just behind. Is it a band that you are who influenced you, or you like it, you are a fan, Black Sabbath?
Yeah, I mean, like, I didn't really get into it till I was a bit older, really. I think when I was really young, I got into sort of a lot of emo music first. Before that, it was sort of Marilyn Manson, Slipknot, Linkin Park, those kind of bands. And then shortly after that, I got into a lot of emo music that was sort of screaming and clean singing. And then later on, through sort of skateboarding and hanging out with friends and stuff, kind of got into Sabbath and Motorhead and a lot of more stoner rock bands. I'm really into a band called Sweat Lodge as well. They're like a US stoner rock band, and they're a bit psychedelic as well. But they're amazing. Like, I don't really have a specific genre that I just listen to all the time. I listen to a lot of different stuff, and so everyone in the band does as well. Like, we all listen to so many different genres, and we're not always listening to the same thing at the same time either. So that's one thing that's interesting about the new record, Sleep Society, is what we all brought to the table. And I think that's how we get our sound in a way, because we don't necessarily all like exactly the same thing. We all bring something a bit different. So it always makes for an interesting recording process.
Sleep Society is the name of the album. It's also the name of the first single. What is the story of this song, Sleep Society? Who gave the name of the album? So I suppose it's very important.
Yeah, definitely. Basically, we recorded an album called You Are We, and we released that through a pledge campaign. It was our first ever sort of independent record. we stepped away from a label, and we wanted to release it by ourselves. And it was a very scary time, because we didn't know how our fan base would react, or if that way of releasing music was definitely going to work. So we released it through that way. And what we learned from that record, it was one of our most successful records, and it was, for us, it was the best way to work. It was directly from us to our fan base, and the way that our fan base supported that record was directly back to us. So we were in charge of everything. We fulfilled all the orders, made sure everything was sent out, and I think that's basically what kind of triggered releasing the Sleep Society, because that was successful and our fans responded to it in such a positive way. I think that's what made us realize that the Sleep Society, and having a subscription-based platform for people to get involved with, was basically gonna sustain the band for us. And I think the way that streaming is going, and the way that music is sort of received these days, it can be very difficult for bands to make their careers sustainable. At the same time as there being demand for these bands, it can be really hard to sort of balance that and make sure that they can spend enough time doing it and also make a living from it if the demand is there. That's basically what we tried to do with Sleep Society, is the initial release of the first single and letting everyone know what we were trying to do. And luckily our fan base is always really supportive, and the message that we deliver to them, they always sort of spend a bit of time digesting, and they seem to respond in such a positive way. And that's what we've seen with the release of this record and the Sleep Society, and people getting involved with that. It's been amazing. And hopefully it just opens a few people's eyes to the fact that I think that the way that streaming platforms pay money out to artists is it's not really fair. Your Ed Sheerans, your Justin Biebers, they kind of scoop all the cash, and then sort of your more underground punk rock bands, if you like, kind of suffer on the algorithms. So we'll see what happens. I think a lot more politicians and people in the industry are turning their heads towards the fact that this kind of needs addressing, and we need to find a more fair way of popular bands, to be able to sustain a career out of making music when the demand is there. So that was kind of how we came to the idea and the initial message that we wanted to deliver with the Sleep Society. And it made sense for us to release the title track with that message on the forefront of it first off. And like I say, our fan base sort of seemed to swallow it, and they accepted it really well, and they understood exactly what we were saying. So we're very lucky to have such a crazy fan base that always stick by us and understand what we're trying to do.
So finally, you create your own crowdfunding. It's a sort of crowdfunding that direct to you.
Yeah, basically, it's a subscription based platform that you can subscribe to, and anyone that's in there, they get sort of extra benefits. So it just allows us as the band, that for anyone that's supporting us directly in that way, it just means that we can give them a bit more attention and give them some more benefits and perks, if you like, for being so supportive. And it allows us to, one, concentrate on being a band as opposed to trying to be a clothing line. But it also, it gives the supporters, the initial supporters, a bit more face time and a bit more of something else to look forward to in terms of how they're supporting us. So we try and give them as many benefits as possible for signing up and supporting our careers, basically. And like I say, the response has been awesome. We're very lucky to have such a cool fan base, and so it's going well so far. So hopefully that keeps going.
It was the new single is called "You Are All You Need." It's like it's a sort of a song. It's not musical, but when I read the title of the tracks, I think "You Are All You Need." I think the Beatles and something like that, because there are so many title tracks like that. What is the story of this song?
Basically, it's about sort of it's so easy to live a life based on other people's lives, if you like. It's about sort of accepting who you are, what you are, where you come from, and sort of being comfortable with that, really. I think a lot of people during COVID have been like heavily isolated, and you know, it's quite easy to feel like you're kind of on your own in a certain feeling or a certain emotion. And for us, this song just highlights how, you know, stop living your life necessarily through Instagram or measuring what you have or your life on other people's expectations, and kind of just be comfortable with being you and being who you are. I guess that's the initial message that we're trying to deliver. Yeah, and hopefully people find that message. I think the important thing to note with While She Sleeps is that we always try and keep our lyrics open to a bit of personal interpretation. We want people to grab hold of the lyrics and sort of figure out what it means for them, you know, like we try and leave it open in that sense. So yeah, You Are All You Need is, for me, it's such a great song from this record, and the message is strong, and I hope people take some positivity for what we're trying to say there.
Are you finally inspired about what happened to the humanity since 1 year now, since March of last year?
Yeah.
Are you inspired about that to write some lyrics about that?
Personally, you know, I kind of tried to steer away from it a little bit. I felt like it'd be very easy for us to write a record based around sort of the feeling of COVID-19. But I think what is quite interesting is that when you write in lyrics in a poetic way, how the relationship between what you're trying to say in one sense can sometimes mean something to another thing, if you like. It can double up and mean two things, and you could be speaking about a relationship with a loved one in one sense, but it's quite weird to see how that could make sense in a political way as well, you know. And that's always interesting for us, like I say, to keep that open. You know, COVID's been tough on everyone. It's been tough on definitely this industry, and you know, I kind of try and steer away from talking about it because, you know, everyone's kind of sick of hearing about it. But yeah, it's been a crazy one for sure, and it's been a roller coaster for everybody. Yeah, I personally tried to steer away from talking about it too heavily in our new record, but there's definitely some poetic lyrics there that do cross over and will make sense for the situation.
I see that on each album, you have always some special guests. I see that, and you have many special guests on this one.
Yeah.
What do you appreciate? This one, you have Simon Ney from Biffy Clyro. You have Deryck Whibley, Sum 41. So on Defeat for the Brave. What do you appreciate in that kind of special guest when you get some special need, and how do you choose them? And was it easy to get them?
Basically, you know, again, we want to maintain being a current and interesting band, and both the guests on this new record are amazing for us. We've been huge Sum 41 fans from being younger. That was like our punk rock years growing up. So to work with Deryck on The Perfect Escape was amazing. We just heard through other people in the industry that he'd heard about our band, and he liked some songs. So we just kind of reached out to him, and I think we always just want from a guest spot is just someone who can come on and, you know, put a bit of themselves into our songs and make them a bit interesting, make them their own a little bit, and bring something new to the table. And I think both guests did that. In a similar way, Simon Neil, we actually went on tour with Bullet for My Valentine, and their lighting guy, sort of, we got to know him after a few weeks on the tour, and he kind of said, "Oh, you know, I work for Biffy Clyro. Well, they're really big fans of your band. They've been listening to your stuff for a while." And we were like, you know, I used to listen to Biffy Clyro when I was younger, and yeah, it was amazing to hear that these people that sort of we'd looked up to at some stage of our lives were tuning in and listening to While She Sleeps. So that's how that came about. And then we just reached out to him and sent him a message saying, "Would you be interested in a collaboration on a Sleep Shot song, and he was like, yeah, I've been a fan of you guys for a while, so yeah, I can't wait for people to hear Nervous. It's such a good track with Simon Neil on, and I think the world's ready for that song. I think it's going to I think it's going to be interesting to see how people receive that song.
Just the last question. The band began finally in 2006, so it's a long time ago.
Yeah.
But you are very young. The first album came in 2012. This is the sixth. Could you describe the musical evolution of the band since the beginning to now?
Like I said before, I think we always try and do things outside of our comfort zone. I feel like a lot of the evolution that we've made has felt really quite natural. You know, I think we're lucky in a sense of like, I don't really feel like anyone else sounds like While She Sleeps. I don't think people manage to sing and sound like us, and I don't think anyone else really plays guitar like Sean Long either. So I feel like we're very lucky in that way that we can sort of move around different genres a little bit and still sound like While She Sleeps. It's a very amazing thing for us to be able to say that we have. I think that there's definitely some surprises in there along the way. It can be quite tough to summarize that evolution, you know, but yeah, I think it's an interesting journey, and I think that every album we're growing as individuals and growing in the way that we work together and put out new music. And I think it'll be interesting to see where that goes to in the future once this album's out there and people have heard it. But I think that on the whole, I feel like the progression that we're making as a band feels like a natural one. So yeah, I'm really happy with how things are going, and I'm excited for the future of While She Sleeps.
If you just the last question, if you just present this new album to somebody who don't know the band, what could you say? What will you say?
I would say that if you're open-minded and you're into sort of rock, metal, punk rock, pop, I feel like there's something in there for everybody. And if I was going to say check it out, I'd probably tell you to listen to Nervous, Systematic, and You Are All You Need. Just because I think they're a great example of what this album can bring. But yeah, I'd say come and check us out live, and you'll fully understand.
So thank you very much for the interview. Really, it was nice. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate that.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye now. Thank you.
Bye.